The night everyone waited for. Ozzy Osbourne's final concert wasn't just another rock show. It was a moment in history. Fans from all over the world had flown in to witness the end of an era. The venue was sold out in minutes. Rock stars, celebrities, old bandmates, and industry legends were all trying to get in. It wasn't just about the music. It was about saying goodbye to a man who changed rock forever. But just hours before Ozzy was supposed to take the stage, something strange happened backstage. A name was removed from the VIP guest list. Security was given strict instructions: this person is not allowed inside. No exceptions. The news spread quickly through the crew. Some whispered, others stared in shock. One of Ozzy's oldest connections had just been banned from the biggest night of his life. The crowd didn't know. The lights went down. A roaring cheer filled the air. But behind the scenes, a drama was unfolding. Who had been banned? And why? The list of possible names was short, but powerful. Was it a former Black Sabbath member? A rival from the past? Or someone from Ozzy's personal life? Everyone who knew Ozzy knew he could be kind-hearted, but when he cut someone out, it was final. The mystery deepened when Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife and manager, was seen in a heated conversation just before the show. She looked upset, furious, even. But she wouldn't say a word about what was happening. She told security, "Do your job. No press. No leaks." Still, leaks happened. Within an hour, the internet was buzzing. Someone had seen the band guest trying to enter through a private side entrance. They were turned away by 2 bodyguards. One witness claimed the person was yelling, "Tell Ozzy I came to say goodbye. He'll want to see me." But the doors stayed closed. Back inside, Ozzy took the stage. He looked older, slower, but still powerful. Every word, every riff, every moment felt heavy with emotion. Fans cried. Old friends watched from the wings. And still, one person stood outside in the dark, unable to enter the one place they thought they still belonged. Why were they banned? That's the question no one could answer. Not yet. But the clues were there. And it all went back decades, back to a betrayal that Ozzy had never fully forgiven. The final show wasn't just a farewell. It was Ozzy's last chance to make things right, or to close the door for good. And as the night went on, the truth started to slip out. But first, we have to go back to where the grudge began. Back to the one moment that changed everything between Ozzy and the man now standing outside his final show. Because the story of who got banned didn't start that night. It started over 40 years ago, on a rainy night in Birmingham. The rainy night in Birmingham. It was the late 70s. Ozzy Osbourne had just been fired from Black Sabbath. Years of drinking, drug use, and chaos had taken a toll on the band, and on Ozzy. One rainy night in Birmingham, while sitting alone in a small flat, Ozzy got a call from someone he never expected to hear from again. It was him. The same man who would one day be banned from Ozzy's final show. Back then, they had been inseparable. Not just bandmates, but brothers in madness. They toured together, wrote songs together, shared hotel rooms, and survived fights with managers and each other. But after Ozzy's firing, things turned bitter. The phone call was short, tense, and filled with blame. "You did this to yourself, mate," the voice on the other end said coldly. Ozzy never forgot those words. But at that moment in 1979, he wasn't angry. He was broken. Lost. Everyone had turned away from him. Everyone but Sharon. She saw something in him that others didn't. She believed he wasn't done yet. And that's when it started, the solo career, the wild ride, and the new Ozzy. But one man never reached out again. Not to help, not to support. And Ozzy never forgave him. Years passed. Ozzy rose from the ashes. He had hits like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. He played to millions. And the man who once stood beside him? He watched from the shadows, still playing, still working, but never with Ozzy again. The two crossed paths a few times. Award shows, tribute concerts, charity events. They shook hands, smiled for the cameras. But the air between them was cold. Their conversations never lasted more than a few minutes. The hurt was still there. Then, in 2005, something strange happened. Ozzy was planning a reunion show. A one-night-only performance with his old friends from the Sabbath years. The press was going wild. Fans hoped the bandman would return to the stage. But just days before the event, his name vanished from the poster. Some say Sharon made the call. Others say Ozzy did it himself. Whatever the truth was, one thing became clear: the past was not forgiven. Still, fans kept asking, would the two legends ever make peace? The answer came in 2023, when Ozzy announced his final performance. The world waited to see who would be by his side. The band lineup was strong. Friends, family, and famous faces were confirmed. But one name was missing. And when that same man showed up at the venue on the night of the concert, he was turned away. "I just wanted to wish him well," he reportedly told a backstage hand. He was like a brother. But that brotherhood had ended long ago. Now, people were digging into the past, looking for more. And what they found next shocked even the most loyal fans. There was a letter, hidden for decades, written by Ozzy himself. And it revealed the final blow, the one thing that sealed the grudge forever. The hidden letter. The letter was old, folded neatly, with edges yellowed by time. It wasn't meant to be public. Ozzy had written it in the early 80s, after his solo career took off and the pain of betrayal still burned in his chest. He didn't send it. He kept it hidden in a locked drawer at home, buried beneath stage passes, old lyrics, and photos from the wild years. Only a few people even knew it existed. Until now. After Ozzy's final show, someone close to the family, an assistant who had worked with the Osbournes for over 2 decades, leaked a few lines from the letter in a cryptic social media post. It didn't name anyone directly, but the words were enough to set the rock world on fire. "I stood on stage alone because I had to," Ozzy had written. "The ones who were supposed to have my back were the first to walk away. You told me I'd never make it without you. Well, I did. And I did it without the lies." Lies. That was the word that caught everyone's attention. What lie had been told? Digging deeper, fans started to connect the dots. Back in 1979, right after Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath, a rumor had spread through the music press. Someone close to Ozzy had told reporters he was finished, that he was too far gone to ever make music again. The quote had damaged Ozzy's chances of signing a new deal. For a while, no label would touch him. Years later, Ozzy found out who had said it. It was the same man now banned from his final show. That betrayal wasn't just personal, it had threatened his entire future. Sharon had worked around the clock to reverse the damage. She called in favors, got Ozzy into studios, even sold her own jewelry to fund demo recordings. All while the man Ozzy once called brother went silent. To Ozzy, that silence spoke louder than any insult. He didn't need to keep the grudge alive. He had millions of fans, a powerful legacy, and the respect of a generation. But something about that moment, the lie, the abandonment, never left him. So when the final concert was announced, and requests started coming in from old bandmates and estranged friends, Ozzy made a quiet list. One side read, "In." The other said, "Not welcome." And one name, written in capital letters, sat at the top of that second list. He had been given chances before. Reunions, TV appearances, tribute nights. But every time, Ozzy stayed distant. He'd nod, say hello, maybe share a joke, but never forget. At the final show, when the lights went down and Ozzy walked on stage for the last time, he did it with the weight of that letter still in his heart. The cameras didn't catch it, but just before the first song, Ozzy looked toward the crowd, then toward the backstage entrance, and shook his head. He knew who was out there. And he knew why the door had to stay shut. But that wasn't the end of the story. Because the bandman had something of his own. Something he'd never shared, until the next morning. The response that shocked everyone. The next morning, after the final show, fans were still celebrating. Social media was filled with memories, emotional goodbyes, and clips of Ozzy giving it everything he had on stage. But while the world was cheering, one man was preparing a message of his own. The man who had been banned. By 10 a.m., it was everywhere. A short video was posted to his official account. No music. No fancy graphics. Just him, older, softer in the face, but still unmistakably a rock legend. He sat in a quiet room, surrounded by gold records and vintage guitars. His hands trembled slightly, not with anger, but with emotion. He started with a sigh. "I wasn't going to say anything," he said. "But I owe it to the fans, and maybe, just maybe, to Ozzy too." For the first time in over 40 years, he admitted the truth. He had been the one who told the press back in the late 70s that Ozzy was finished. But not out of spite. At least, not at first. "We were all lost back then," he said. "He was spiraling, and I thought, maybe it was better if he walked away. I didn't say it to hurt him. I thought I was saving him." He paused. "But it wasn't my place. And I regret it every single day." The video went deeper than anyone expected. He shared stories fans had never heard, like the time Ozzy cried backstage after being booed in 1977, or how they once sat on a hotel roof in silence, just staring at the night sky, too tired to fight anymore. "I watched him rise again," he said, eyes wet. "And I cheered. Even when I wasn't invited, even when I knew I'd never be close to him again, I cheered. Because he proved us all wrong." Then he did something no one expected. He held up a small box. Inside was a bracelet. A silver chain Ozzy had given him in 1974, engraved with the words, "Brothers in Noise." "I never took it off until the day I heard he blacklisted me," he whispered. "I guess I deserved it." The video ended with a final message. "If this is goodbye, then I just want him to know, I'm proud of you, Oz. No hard feelings. Just love." The clip went viral within minutes. Fans were torn. Some sided with Ozzy, saying betrayal is betrayal. Others wept, believing this was the closest thing to closure either of them would ever get. But behind the scenes, something unexpected was happening. A member of Ozzy's team, someone who had been with him for years, shared the video with Sharon. She watched it in silence. Then she forwarded it to Ozzy. And when Ozzy finally saw it, he didn't say a word. He just sat there, staring at the screen, holding his old microphone in one hand, and the past in the other. What happened next surprised everyone. The call no one expected. It was quiet in the Osbourne house the day after the concert. The stage had been taken down, the lights packed away. Ozzy was resting, his voice nearly gone, his body exhausted. But his mind was racing. He couldn't stop thinking about the video. For hours, he didn't speak. Not to Sharon. Not to the band. Not even to his assistant who came in to check on him. He just sat there, replaying the words over and over again. "I'm proud of you, Oz, no hard feelings, just love." That voice. That face. That memory. It took him all the way back to their early days, when they were poor, hungry, and unstoppable. When all they had were their instruments, their anger, and each other. Then, out of nowhere, Ozzy picked up his phone. He scrolled through a contact he hadn't touched in years. He paused for a long moment. Then he tapped, "Call." No one around him could believe it. Sharon turned, stunned. She didn't try to stop him. She knew this was between them. The phone rang once, twice. Then it picked up. There was a pause. Neither spoke at first. Two aging rock legends on opposite ends of the line, connected again after decades of silence and pain. Finally, Ozzy spoke. "I saw your video." Silence. Then the other voice replied, cautiously, "Yeah. I wasn't sure you'd want to." Ozzy let out a soft, bitter laugh. "Didn't want to. But I did." Another pause. "I meant every word," the man said. "I know I messed up. I never stopped caring. Even when you hated me." Ozzy didn't reply right away. Then he said, in a quieter voice, "You hurt me, mate. Not just with the press. You left me when I needed someone. You all did." "I know," the voice cracked. "I was scared. We all were." More silence. Then, something unexpected happened. Ozzy said, "You still got that bracelet?" "Yeah," came the reply, almost a whisper. "Haven't worn it since '97, but I've still got it." Ozzy nodded slowly. Then he said the last thing anyone thought he'd say. "Maybe it's time we talk. Properly. Not here. Not now. But soon." And with that, he hung up. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. A door cracked open after decades of being locked shut. News of the call spread quietly through the music world. No one had details, just whispers. But insiders confirmed it. Ozzy had reached out. And something had shifted. Backstage, Sharon was emotional but guarded. "He's doing what he needs to do," she told a friend. "And whatever comes of it, at least he's finally facing it." The man who had once been banned didn't say much after the call. Just one post on his feed. Some things never truly end. Some wounds just take longer to heal. Fans were left wondering, would there be a reunion? A tribute? One last moment on stage? No one knew for the unexpected invitation. Weeks passed. Ozzy stayed out of the spotlight. No interviews. No appearances. Just silence. Fans waited, hoping for a sign that the call meant something more. They flooded forums and social media with theories. Some believed a reunion was in the works. Others thought the moment had passed. But then, out of nowhere, it happened. A new post appeared on Ozzy's official account. It was simple. Just a black background with white text. "One last night. For real this time." Attached was a date. 1 month away. A private, invite-only event labeled The Final Curtain, Ozzy and Friends. The internet exploded. What did it mean? Who would be there? Was this Ozzy's true goodbye? Then the second post dropped, an image of a silver bracelet. The same bracelet Ozzy had given his former bandmate in 1974. Brothers in Noise. Fans lost it. Could it be? Was the man once banned, now invited? Behind the scenes, things were moving quickly. Sharon had been reluctant. She never liked the man. She remembered how deeply his words had hurt Ozzy. But even she couldn't deny it now. Something had changed in her husband. Ozzy wasn't trying to fix the past. He just wanted peace. The invitation was sent quietly, through a personal message, not through managers. It said only one thing. "You've got one more song in you. If you're ready." At first, there was no reply. Days went by. Then, just when everyone thought the silence was final, Ozzy received a message. It was a photo. The bracelet. Worn again. After decades. And underneath it, a short note. "Let's make some noise, brother." Preparations began in secret. The location wasn't public. Only a few hundred people were invited, close friends, family, a handful of industry icons, and the most loyal fans who had stuck with Ozzy through thick and thin. Rumors swirled. Would it be a duet? A jam? A full song? Security was tight. No press. No leaks. But someone who was there that night would later describe it like this. Ozzy walked out, looked to his left, and there he was. The man who hadn't shared a stage with him in over 40 years. No announcement. No speech. They just nodded and played. They didn't say a word to the crowd. Just plugged in their guitars and tore into an old classic from the Sabbath days. The crowd was frozen, then erupted. The sound was raw, emotional, not perfect, but real. When the song ended, Ozzy looked over again. He gave a small grin. Then walked off stage. That was it. No encore. No dramatic farewell. Just music. One last time. And when asked later why he did it, Ozzy simply said, "Because you don't always get to fix things. But sometimes, you get to play one more song." The man once banned, was now part of the final story. And for fans across the world, that was enough. Because in the end, rock and roll isn't about perfection. It's about truth. And that night, Ozzy told the truth, with 6 strings, a mic, and an old friend by his side.